Full guide to building an aesthetic body. Here's me on the left, about 16 or 17 years old, awkward, shy, video gamer, virgin, no confidence around girls. And you know what the worst thing was? At the time I took this picture, I had a girl in my class who I thought was cute, who actually liked me and wanted to get with me. But I had such bad levels of confidence that I didn't even know it or pick up on the signs. It was only like years later when I ended up logging in on Facebook and, you know, like going down my wall and my DMs and stuff that I eventually saw. And I was like, oh shit, like she liked me. Of course she did. And it just hit me. And I was like, damn, like I had such low levels of self-esteem and confidence that even though a girl liked me, I couldn't even like believe it. And then here's me I think about 6, maybe 7 years later. This is me when I was traveling in Thailand. I've built a fairly nice physique. I've got really nice style. I took this really amazing picture, put it as my Tinder profile picture, and I literally started to get about 50 matches per day. Not 15, 50. I started to get treated like this fucking Chad male model because I look like really good there as well, let's be honest. I would walk not only on Tinder, but I would walk through this island that I was on whilst I was traveling, and I had like these girls, you know, like the white British girls or American or Australian girls, whatever. They were like traveling in their groups and getting drunk and stuff. I would have multiple times during the month that I was traveling with these girls would run up to me and say shit like, oh, my friend thinks you're cute, and they'd catcall me, they'd grab me like I was going on nights out and getting, you know, like going out for drinks and stuff. And I had like I was plowing through the island. So it really fucking worked to build this body, get confident, and to, you know, have that as a vehicle of being able to attract more women and live like a better, confident male life. So first of all, respect to you if you've clicked on this video because you've chose to click on a long, unedited guide, like this educational video, instead of like some short clickbait bullshit, top 9 ways to get whatever. So respect for that. You could have clicked on TikTok, you could have clicked on Instagram, porn, but all this dirty shit, but you actually chose to click on like a educational like course basically. So you have my respect for that. You probably have a top 1% attention span since you watch these kinds of videos. And why should you listen to me? Well, the truth is, like, I didn't have a great genetics. I didn't even have money for a gym membership when I started. Like, literally, I started in the gym in my garage. Like, my brother built like a little shitty home gym, which was literally just a bench and some adjustable dumbbells. That was it. We didn't have cables. We didn't have a squat rack or anything like that. We just had a bench and some adjustable dumbbells. That's it. I made slow progress, but that actually, I think, makes me more worthwhile to, like, you know, to listen to, because I had to go through more trials and tribulations and obstacles like you probably will as well. Like, I know what it was like trying to make muscle when you couldn't afford like the supplements and stuff. I know what it was like trying to make muscle when you couldn't even afford a gym membership or you weren't allowed to go to one. I know what it was like starting with pretty poor genetics. And I know that it's what it's like to make quite slow progress. Like, a lot of the guys on the internet will show you their progress, you know, their body transformation. And they'll go from this to this in literally like 1 year. And fair enough, they're awesome for those guys. Since it took me about 6-7 years to build this, where most guys probably would have built this in half the time, I had to learn more. I had to like develop more grit, perseverance, and resilience to stay patient on this goal. And so if you're anything like me, where you're probably going to make a little bit worse progress than like those influencers who post like, yeah, they got fucking big, massive in like 3 years. It's like the before picture, he's there like skinny white kid. And the after picture is like some big jacked black guy. And it's like, yeah, 3-month natural progress picture, bro. Yeah, okay. Like, so I think that actually makes me more credible to teach because I stayed on this path for so long and I didn't start at some amazing points. So here's the promise that I'm going to make for you for this video. I'll teach you how to build your aesthetic body without the overthinking and make faster progress than I did, so that hopefully you can learn the skills and everything you need without the scars that I picked up along the way. So here's my quick introduction. I'm Hamza, if you didn't know me already, and I help men improve themselves to attract women, and building an aesthetic body is the single biggest thing that you can do to attract women. It's more important, infinitely, like significantly more important than making money, than learning things like social skills. The single most important thing that you can do is build the aesthetic physique, because not only does it give you the confidence and it gives you the positive feedback loop in, you know, the social environments, it also is the most important thing you can do in the digital dating world, where now a lot of dating is done online and it's basically just based on your pictures, and your pictures is based on how sexy you are, and how sexy you are is based on your body. When girls masturbate, they're not thinking about a fat guy, a skinny fat guy. They're thinking about a guy who looks like me. And so that's what I'm going to help you to build here. And if that's something you're interested in and you want to, and you're like, you know, you'll just admit to yourself, you'll want to improve yourself so that you can attract more women and better women, then subscribe right now, because sometimes these videos don't get shown on your homepage unless if you subscribe. So go and do that right now and you'll see more content like this. So first of all, does an aesthetic body get you girls? What do you think? There's so many guys on the internet that say, oh, you know, like I thought getting into weightlifting would, you know, get me girls, but it only attracted guys. And every time I see that, I'm like, not for me, son. Not for me. Of course it fucking helps you. If you do it the right way, if you do it my way, it will help you to attract women. There's so many guys who will go to the gym, but then do it in this other way, which is absolutely fine if that's what they want to do. But if you are here because you want to become more attractive to the opposite sex, which I think is an awesome goal because it's so important to have a good relationship, love life in your life. So if that is your goal, and you want to build an aesthetic body for that, which is the single most important thing you can do, you should be learning from someone who actually got those results rather than all like the bodybuilder, weightlifter guys online who kind of make those cringe, self-deprecating jokes like, oh, I thought it'd get me girls, but I only get compliments from guys. I get a lot of compliments from girls. If I showed you some screenshots of the messages girls sends me, you would be thinking like, oh yeah, I bet this is all like fake. It's all edited because of how like sexual and just romantic girls treat you when you're just shaped in a different way because of the physique that you've built. So there's 3 parts to building an aesthetic body. There's the workouts, the diet, and the mindset, and we'll go through them. Just quickly, the top link in the description, if you just go and have a look at that, it'll look a little bit different. There's the top link in the description. That will have everything you need to get girls in 2024, and it basically will show you how to use the aesthetic body you're going to build today, but how to like take good pictures and how to use that for your dating life. So just get ready to open that up. Maybe you'll watch it after you watch this video. It's the top link in the description. Get ready for that. We'll start off with the workouts. So there's a few parts of the workouts that we'll be talking about. Train like a bodybuilder, training till failure. The ascending phase is more important. Lower the weight slowly. Progressive overload, optimal workout routine. We'll go through all of these together. So first of all, let's talk about training like a bodybuilder. It's so easy to get convinced to start training like other athletes, like powerlifters, or to get into martial arts. And these things are awesome, by the way. Like, you know, lifting heavy weights and hitting PRs is awesome. It's fun. Martial arts is awesome. It's fun. There's like this new hybrid athlete trend on Instagram where there's a bunch of guys who are jacked and they're now like going on runs and it seems so cool and everyone's so happy. The truth is, if you want to get the fastest results in your aesthetic body journey, just train like a bodybuilder. Doing anything else, like going for more of this powerlifting 1 rep max, yeah, I want to get really strong. Doing like this sort of gymnastics, calisthenics, doing like the martial arts. Unfortunately, that will actually distract you from your goal of building this aesthetic physique. So just be careful. Now, am I saying that you can't build the aesthetic physique whilst also doing these other sports? No, of course, you absolutely can, and there's people who do. But just be careful, because you're probably thinking of some athletes who, like, they're fighters, but also they've got a nice physique. There's some martial art guy called, like, Leon Edwards that people comment about, right? There's guys who've got that. What they're not telling you, what these like hybrid athletes aren't telling you, is they started as bodybuilders first and then they built up the other thing. So when you see like some cool looking guy on Instagram and he does like some cool tricks as like a calisthenics guy, or he's a martial art guy, or like he goes on runs and he's like, yeah, you know, hybrid athlete. Really what happened was they started as bodybuilders first. Now they basically don't make progress in bodybuilding, but they just go and add in another sport, which you absolutely can do. But you're here today because your priority is the aesthetic body. And so if you just wanted to maximize that, if I could force you to do something, I would tell you, don't even think about any other sport at all. Don't think about lifting heavy to become a powerlifter. Don't think about martial arts as much as Andrew Tate says it's important for masculine men. Don't think about the hybrid athlete. Just be a bodybuilder. If you want to become first of all, if you just want to build the aesthetic body, look sexy and attract girls, and also if you want to become like an actual bodybuilder, then just train as a bodybuilder. Don't add in like these other things which will be more of a distraction. It's kind of like you've started a business and then you randomly start another business as well. Like the shittest entrepreneurs do that. They'll have one business and then they'll just randomly start another business, and they think that, oh yeah, but you know, the new business will give me quite easy money. What happens is you just become mediocre in both. It's better, in my opinion, to become phenomenal in one thing and just kind of like shrug your shoulders at the other thing and say like, yeah, whatever, it's not for me. So, and this is if you want the fastest results. That's if you don't want the fastest results and you want like the best overall like happy life where you're training bodybuilding like 2-3 times a week, like weightlifting, and then you're doing like one calisthenics fun session a week and then one martial arts session a week, you can do. It's just that honestly, you'll be mediocre at everything. So it's just bear that in mind. If you want to build this physique, you're going to have to go to the gym like 4 to 6 days a week, and it's quite tiring. And if on top of that you're doing martial arts and calisthenics and all this cool other stuff, you're just going to be sacrificing progress in everything. So just bear that in mind. What does training like a bodybuilder actually look like? Well, it's weightlifting. It's not calisthenics. It's not like this gymnastic stuff. It's not like the body weight workout. It's going to the gym, grabbing the dumbbells or the barbells or the machines and doing slow reps, usually around 8 to 12 reps per set. We'll talk about this more. It's not like that specifically autistic. Focusing on things like mind-muscle connection, lots of isolations, and training just in this way. Bodybuilders aren't in the calisthenics park trying to learn how to do like a front lever or anything. Again, you might see some bodybuilder doing that, but that's because he built the body first. Now he's adding in this extra fun thing. If you're just here to build the aesthetic body, stay focused on this. Because the reason why I'm saying this so much is because honestly, I've wasted quite a lot of time just randomly getting distracted and picking up other sports that were, yeah, sure, it was kind of fun, but like I look back to those moments and I'm like, damn, I wish I just stayed on my bodybuilding journey, because that's the thing that meant the most to me. So I look back with a little bit of like regret that I sacrificed this journey to pick up other things that I wasn't amazing at anyway. So one of the most important things of bodybuilding and what's called training for hypertrophy, like basically growing muscle mass, is training close enough to failure. If you hit a set, so a set is called you grab the weight and you're doing bicep curls. If you hit it, but it's easy and it's not painful, you basically won't make any muscle at all. Then there's this great debate on the internet, like how hard should you train? Should you train like all the way till like the muscle is completely dead in one set, right? In just one set. Should you get to the point where you literally can't even move it? Like this is called failure, when you literally can't even move the weight anymore. You couldn't even do one more rep after this. Or should you do what the science guys say and stay like 1 to 2 reps away from that point, away from failure? There's this great debate online. What's interesting is the most popular fitness influencer basically of all time, of our modern day, Sam Sulek, some science-based YouTuber named Jeff Nippard did like an analysis of this guy's training, who's fucking massive. Obviously he's taking steroids, but still he's even for someone taking steroids, he's fucking huge. He did 96% of his sets to failure. All of the science guys up until this point have been saying that you shouldn't train till failure. It's like, it's not good for you. It's all this like just the fucking yapping. And it was interesting because when I saw this, I was like, oh yeah, like every big guy that I've ever seen in the gym trains till failure for basically all of their sets. But the people, like the kind of, no offense to them, but like, kind of like the nerds online, they all say like, oh no, but this is like, it's not optimal because the science says something different. But the biggest fucking most known influencer of our day trains to failure almost on every single set he does. The biggest guys I know train to failure on almost every set that they do as well. So it's just something to bear in mind. Like, I think this is probably the way to grow, and we'll break more of this down. The reason why this is so powerful, basically grabbing a weight and pushing it to the point you can't push a single more rep, is because you're naturally progressively overloading. So the biggest thing that actually causes more muscle to be built is what's called progressive overload, which is kind of like where you do an exercise more than you did it last week. So you use higher weights and higher weights and higher weights every single week, or you do more reps. When you train till failure, you naturally are progressively overloading, because your point of failure moves further and further and further. So it's like you're naturally making progress to building the muscle, tearing the muscle. And the reason why I think this is so powerful is because it starts normalizing just how painful bodybuilding and building a muscle like hypertrophy is. This is something I need to make clear to you right now. When you're in the gym and you're hitting a set of bench press or chest flies or quads, whatever it is, like leg extension, training to build muscle is incredibly painful. If it's not like close to a 9 out of 10 in pain, you're probably not building muscle. You're probably not training hard enough. If there's one reason why people don't build muscle, it isn't actually because of like lack of sleep or diet or anything of that. People just train like pussies. Honestly, people just train to like a 6 out of 10 intensity and then think they're hard. Like a 10 out of 10 intensity, which is painful as fuck, you'll literally sometimes just randomly get a headache because of how hard you pushed. That's like sometimes how hard you've got to push to break the muscle, to tear it apart, and so that it rebuilds bigger. Hypertrophy training is stupidly painful. Like the thing is, like, I'm some internet alpha male. I sit here and shout about like women and stuff, right? I'm telling you right now, I'm like a little bit of a bitch in the gym. Sometimes I can't push that hard. A lot of the times, I won't lie to you, I like to believe I'm a strong guy. I've done hundreds of hours of martial arts, of meditation, of like hiking, trekking, whatever. I've done like thousands of weightlifting sessions. I've built a business. I've done so many things. I'm telling you right now, training for hypertrophy, bro, I bitch out of it like more often than not because of how painful it is. It's so painful to take a set near failure. So I'm telling you right now, most likely this is the single biggest constraint of you making more muscle. You just train like a bitch. And I'm not even saying that to insult you. Honestly, I don't even mean to say that in a bad way. You just don't train hard enough. It's simple as that. And I'm not even saying that to insult you. I'm just saying that, like, to train hard enough to build muscle is so difficult. And so we'll be talking about a bunch of things you can do to make this easier later on in this guide, because if anything that makes it somewhat easier or more likely that you train till real failure and you've literally teared that muscle and it's so painful, anything that makes it easier or more likely is huge bang for your buck. But that's like the single biggest thing that I feel like from the guys I've helped and the guys I see in the gym, if we only changed one thing for you, if you just trained closer to failure and you trained harder, you would make more progress. Another tip is for your workouts, the eccentric phase is more important. So lower the weight slowly. So the eccentric phase is where you basically are lowering the weight. So for example, imagine if I'm bench pressing right now. Here's like the barbell. We've got the barbell to my chest and I press, right? The press is kind of like the hype part of the movement that, you know, it's kind of like the more fun part, right? So I've got the dumbbells and I'm pressing, or I've got the bench press and I'm pressing, or I've got the leg press and I'm pressing that away. That's actually the less important part of the movement. Where more of the muscle is built is the eccentric, the lowering phase. And so one tip that will actually help you to build so much more muscle is to press with speed and explosiveness and aggression, but to lower the weight slowly, because that's how you'll like optimize the muscle building. So we've already just spoke about getting close enough to failure and basically not stopping the set up until like you're fucking like feeling like you're literally dying and shaking and everything. What we're doing now is optimizing every rep. And the way you do that is, for example, imagine if I was doing bench press right now. The lowering phase is actually where a lot more of the muscle is being built. So I'd want to have that as like a 2-3 second slow lowering phase, feeling the stretch, and then explode up. Then slow lowering phase, then explode up. Pushing the weight feels more hype. It really does. You know, like you're curling the weight upwards. Imagine you're doing like a bicep curl. Curling the weight feels so awesome. And most people just kind of drop it after that. But really, it's curling the weight is the easy part. That's when you should be lowering it very slowly. That's where a lot of the muscle is built. And most people, again, this is probably the second biggest thing. They don't respect the eccentric phase, the lowering phase. But that's actually where most of the muscle is built. So if you're the one guy in the gym who, one, doesn't stop his set up until you're basically like gritting your teeth and you're literally shaking and you can't move the movement anymore. Imagine you're doing like tricep overhead pushes. Imagine you're just stuck there. You're gritting your teeth. You're fucking shaking. Okay, you're at failure now. Now, if you let go, that's a good fucking set. If you're the one guy who trains like that, but also the one guy who kind of slowly like lowers the weight. So, but you know, back to the cable machine or like this, who slowly lowers the weight with every rep. If you just do those two things, you'll be basically the most optimal trainer in the gym. In my opinion, this is what I've seen of like the constraint of like most kind of amateur guys who are in the gym. I'm still like an amateur as well, but I've been in there for like 10 years now. So yeah, the tip is just lower the weight slowly for more gains. It's less hype because if you do this, you have to lower the weight, because think about the weight that you normally use. Imagine if you use like 100 kg bench press and you do it pretty fast. Well, suddenly if you're going to lower the weight slowly, it's going to be harder. It's going to take longer. You're going to get more fatigued. So suddenly you're going to have to lower the weight to like 90 kg. It's not as cool anymore. If you press the weight faster and lower it down faster, you can use more weight. But again, remember, we're not trying to train like powerlifters, weightlifters. We're trying to just train like a bodybuilder. Bodybuilders don't really care about how much weight they use in the gym, only for the sake of progressive overload, but not because of like the ego thing. The ego thing for us should just be our physique. Like that's your sort of picture or video that you post onto Instagram. For the powerlifter, it's like them hitting the PR. But don't think that you need to like have heavy weight as a bodybuilder, because that's when you stop training in this like optimal way for hypertrophy, for muscle gain, and you start basically losing progress in your bodybuilding journey. If there's one big mistake that I've personally made, it's just constantly like getting switched up and starting to prioritize, like, you know, lifting heavier and then not doing this. I'll increase the weight and then my eccentric phase is just really fast and you're making a lot less muscle that way. Progressive overload is basically just where you add reps, sets, or weights over time. People get really autistically detailed with this, but I don't think you need to overthink it. This is why I like training to failure a lot, because you're basically constantly progressively overloading without needing to think about it. So you can really get into like the science of this and start like, analyzing it and writing down the exact weights that you use on like the fucking gym floor and stuff. Okay, so last week I did 73.5 and stuff. You can do that. But you can also use the brain dead approach and literally just push the fucking weight till failure. And it's basically the progressive overload again, because if you get to failure, that's you constantly progressively overload, because failure will keep moving and moving and moving. Again, this is more scientific, but interestingly, people who do this seem to make better progress. There's the science, and then there's being in the field and actually just seeing the results of normal people. It seems like this, just train to failure, brain dead, seems to make more muscle than the guy who's there like one rep away from failure and constantly thinking, wait, so last week I did 73.5 kg, today I'll do 74.5. So what's the optimal workout routine? Well, the science says that training a muscle 2 times a week is better than 1 time a week. So basically, you should have a kind of split where you train each muscle group twice per week. So for example, push-pull legs, where you do, chest and shoulders and triceps, back and biceps, and then all the legs. And then you repeat that twice per week. So you've hit each muscle twice per week. Interestingly, I like bro split. And so does every single big guy I've ever met. Every single big jacked guy I've ever spoke to in my entire life is on bro split. Every single one. But if you look on the internet, all the science guys will tell you, wait, no, you shouldn't be on bro split because the science says that it's not optimal. Why am I on bro split? Personally, because I just think it's fun as fuck. And for some reason, I personally build more muscle on it. So just be careful of like the cult of the science-based fitness YouTubers who will tell you one thing, because in reality, like, you might go and try something different and you actually make better progress. Because often, if I'm honest, and this is something you can quote me for, I think psychology is more important than biology when it comes to certain things like, being an athlete and training. If you enjoy your workouts, you will naturally train harder and more consistently than the guy who's fully optimal with all the science stuff, but then doesn't enjoy it as much and ends up taking off more days over 5 years than the guy who actually loves his training. So I think bodybuilding is more fun, just because today, for example, it's chest day for me. Literally just chest. I'm not doing the push-pull legs. I'm not going to add in the shoulders and triceps to try and make it more optimum. No. I'm going brain dead approach. I'm going to go pick my friend up. We're going to go hit chest like fucking like retards, basically. Like, we're just going to go and hit chest for like 5 exercises. We're not going to think about progressive overload, keeping reps in reserve or anything. We're literally just going to shout each other, abuse caffeine, and just hit like PRs on every set and just like keep pushing. And like, if he bitches out like on a exercise that I know he can do more on, I'll shout at him. And literally, like, suddenly it's like you've got the best pump of your entire fucking life, and you notice a difference in your physique, like you're making progress like every 3 weeks, which is insane for how long I've been lifting for to see progress like this. One thing I just want to tell you, I was supposed to say this later on, but like, I followed a lot of this like sciencey, like, the YouTubers' advice, and I actually made less progress following most YouTubers than just the brain dead sort of Chad approach. Like, there's always a Chad in the gym who's just brain dead when it comes to all this science-based stuff. Like, if you walk up to the jacked Chad, the muscular guy in the gym, and you ask him like, what's your workout split? He'd be, what? What's your workout split? He'll look at you like he doesn't even know what you're on about. And you'll say to him like, what are you training today? And he'll go, chest and I might do a bit of the back as well. And you're thinking like, wait, you don't have a sacred workout routine? You're telling me you just do it intuitively? What are you going to do for chest today? Oh yeah, I just did some bench, and I don't know, I'll probably do some push-ups as well. And he's bigger than you, and he's bigger than these fucking YouTubers. Every single time I see a big motherfucker in the gym or jacked guys, they always like, they don't know this science-based shit at all. They just fucking go in, they have fun in there, and then they train basically every single day because they enjoy themselves. So the routine that I'd suggest is like, go do about 10 to 15 sets per workout using whatever exercise would be hype for you. I'd like, for myself and maybe for you, to prioritize more of the psychology and the enjoyment of the training rather than what the science says is the most optimal way. So it's like, whatever exercise you feel kind of hyped to hit today, you're excited for it, by all means, go ahead and hit that and go for about 10 to 15 sets per workout. If you're not recovering from that, then lower the sets a little bit. You know, if, for example, we hit chest or push today, and then the next chest or push day, we're still sore, then you might want to reduce the sets a little bit. If, for example, you got a little bit sore, but then you felt better in like 2 days, then you could increase the sets because you can take more volume. And the volume is just number of sets. The volume you can take is different per muscle. So, for example, I could go and hit chest today and do 15 sets and be fine for my chest day next week. But tomorrow, for example, I could do back and hit 15 sets for back. But then next week on back day, I'm not recovered because my back just recovers slowly, for example. My back doesn't actually. My back recovers in like fucking 4 hours. I could hit it like literally every 4 hours. But my hamstrings recover in like in months, honestly. I hit RDLs once like last year. I'm still sore from them. So it's different depending on which muscle group you're training. So my hamstrings are very sensitive. I do like maybe 3 or 4 sets per week, and they're still kind of like sore for 4 or 5 days later. Whereas my quads, I can do like 15 sets and they're fine the next day. So that's just one extra tip for you in terms of your programming. So here's an example of my routine. This is what I'll go hit today, and I don't plan any of this stuff. Remember, what I'm telling you is I've done all of that mode where you're planning and you've got every exercise perfectly listed. But this is what I'm preferring. Is this is just like an intuitive thing. Like, we might change this once we go in today, but we basically go with this like hype, aggressive, me and my friend are shouting at each other kind of vibe, listening to loud music and everything. This is most likely what we'll hit today. We'll start with decline bench. I just prefer it over flat bench, and I'll probably put on 100 kg. I'll do it for 10 reps per set, and I'll do about 3 sets. Then we'll go to the incline dumbbell press. I usually use around 34 or so for about 10 slow reps for 3 sets. Then we'll go on dips, and these are more like aggressive. You know, my form's not perfect on these. I'm just kind of doing them for fun, basically, usually around like 12 to 15 reps for 3 sets. Then we'll go on flies. I'll use them fairly light for about 15 reps for 3 sets. And then we'll do like some kind of drop step hype aggression thing on like the chest press machine, which is safe to do this on, where we'll just shout at each other and we'll just try and push as many reps as possible. He'll take some of the weight off and I'm just pushing and pushing to the point that there's no weight on the fucking machine, but you're just pushing it anyway, and you're getting like the last little bit of failure. What's interesting is I'm hitting failure on almost every set. It's not optimum for science and whatever, but actually I really enjoy it and I make good progress doing this. And this, by the way, is not all planned. So like, this is what I expect we'll hit today. But when I get into the gym, I like to honor like what I feel like doing. Like, you know, being disciplined and being unemotional is like a cool thing, fine. But when you're in the gym, especially if you've trained for like longer than a year, your body starts like intuitively tell you like which exercise it would like and how much weight and how many reps and how many sets it would like to do for this particular exercise. Like, if you really tune into your body, it will kind of tell you that. Like, you'll just randomly like get a feeling of like, I really want to go and do like incline dumbbell press today. I just got like a weird visualization that that's the thing that my chest wants me to do. You go and hit that exercise, you're like, wow, this feels lovely. You hit that exercise for the next 2-3 weeks, it feels amazing. Then randomly you don't really feel like hitting it, but you're like, no, I've got to stay disciplined, you know, progressive overload, increase it from last week. You don't feel like doing it. You sit on it and it's like, it doesn't feel as good anymore. And technically it's not as scientific to like change the exercise every few weeks or something. But I think that you might end up making more progress this way, or at least I am. So I'm optimizing for whatever my muscle tells me it wants compared to what science-based fitness YouTubers, like, you know, fitness YouTubers that you watch online will say is better. So the routine that I'm on is just bro split: chest, back, legs, shoulders, arms, legs. I do 2 legs, which is a little bit abnormal for a bro split. And I don't plan what I'm going to really do. I just kind of know what I'm about to start with. And then in the gym, I'll just make it up as I go along. But the biggest thing is that I just try and train as hard as possible. And I seem to be making more progress doing this. And so that is the workout section complete. I was contemplating, should I make like a full-on beginner's guide? Like, so how do you build muscle? You grab weight and you know, you stretch and contract. But I'm assuming that if you clicked on this, you already go to the gym. So I didn't want to go over the beginning stuff. I wanted to go over some of the most important lessons I've learned. Like, these are weird extra tips that I've not heard someone like give on videos before. And I didn't want to just waste your time saying, yeah, you should do, you know, push-pull legs and, you know, you expand, stretch the muscle. You get what I mean? So I wanted to make this a little bit more of an advanced guide. So now let's go over the diet. So in the diet section of this guide, we'll cover the optimal bodybuilding macro split, optimal bodybuilding meals and timings, and then my exact diet and why I don't follow the above optimal diets. So let's go over the optimal bodybuilding macro split, which is what I've seen online in most of the sort of advice, which is 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. I believe the study that everyone's basing it off was the one which actually showed that it was about 0.6 grams per pound of body weight that protein was capped at. And then those researchers increased it just to be safe to 0.8 grams per pound of body weight of protein. And then just kind of like us bodybuilders bros online just said, okay, fuck it, just like make it 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight anyway. And it's just a good rule of thumb. You may as well go a little bit above whatever the recommendation was in science just to be a bit safe. So 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So however much you weigh in pounds is the exact amount of protein you should eat per day. Just bear in mind that what we're calculating here is not the weight of the meal itself. So some guys get confused. Like when I say, for example, 170 grams of protein, that does not mean 170 grams of like chicken breast. Like 100 grams of chicken breast has probably around like 30 grams of protein. So make sure like we're tracking the right thing. I know that's like completely basic for a lot of people, but I've not met some people who literally thought like 100 grams of chicken breast was 100 grams of protein as well. So this is just to those people there. Then you want to have at least 20% of your calories in fats. The reason why is because this is for hormone regulation, basically to not fuck up your testosterone. When a lot of bodybuilders cut down, they often cut down in the fats because it's not really needed like that much to build muscle. Like obviously testosterone is important, but a lot of bodybuilders will sacrifice the calories in fat. And that's why their dick stops working when they get like really lean. The testosterone's all fucked up. So you want to have at least 20% of your calories in fat. Maybe even pushing up to 30. There were some studies I read a few years ago that said pushing up your calories to 40% in fat actually still had a boost in your testosterone. So you might want to consider that. And the rest of your calories in carbs. So a rough macro split for a guy who weighs 170 pounds would be 170 grams of protein, 80 grams of fat, 250 grams of carbs. This is like what I've been on for like many years, for example. I weigh a lot more than this and I've like bulked up since then now. So what should your meals look like in terms of this optimal macro split, which I think basically every bodybuilder would somewhat agree. They might like slightly change things, but I think you'd relatively say like, yeah, fuck it. Like this will probably get you 90% of the progress in terms of the macro split. Someone might say, oh, you could lower carbs or increase carbs or whatever, but this is about right. So then what meals should you eat to try to maximize your muscle building? I would suggest when you wake up, you get protein as soon as possible. If you don't cook or eat first thing, I would suggest just go and have like a whey protein shake so that you start the muscle protein synthesis immediately. So imagine you literally wake up. As soon as you wake up, I would rush to go and have like a shake or something, just because that way you're basically starting to make protein muscle from that point instead of waiting like half an hour, 1 hour for breakfast or whatever. Then your pre-workout meal, assuming that you're going to train at like 8 a.m. or something, or 7 a.m. before school or work, which is what I would suggest doing if bodybuilding is like the goal for you, is high carbs and medium protein. And we want to have low fat in this one, which I'll explain in a second. So your pre-workout meal can be like chicken and rice or protein oats or like a large fruit platter with a whey shake, for example. We want to have high carbs because that will increase our glycogen, which is the energy storage that we'll use in our training. And we want to have medium protein so that we're still in muscle protein synthesis during the training session. We want to have low to no fats in this because fats slow down our digestion, and it will kind of mean that like we're not digesting these things as quickly as we would like to do. So it's just something to bear in mind. If you can have like a lean meat and carb, that's probably best around here, and having low fats before your workout. After your workout, it's basically the exact same. You want to have high carbs, medium protein again, and then you want to have like basically the rest of your calories fit in like 1 or 2 or 3 more meals. Those ones will naturally be higher in fat since we didn't have fat around here. So we might have like sweet potato and steak. We might have eggs and steak. We might have, I don't know, like what other things do bodybuilders eat, really? Just chicken and you might have like a fattier meat, for example, like steak here. Now, there's a reason why I don't actually follow this optimal split anymore. Because first of all, I hit a plateau in my gains. So I optimized as much as I possibly could by the time I got to like a few years into bodybuilding. And I did all the scientific stuff. I was perfectly on the right macro split. I was tracking everything. I was weighing every gram of rice and everything. I was fully doing this pre-workout, post-workout meals, intra-workout, like glucose and glycogen and shit. I was doing all this and I hit a massive plateau. And along with that, so I wasn't making more muscle, but along with that, I never really felt healthy. I had quite a lot of brain fog, like almost like ADHD, where I couldn't pay attention to stuff. And I was constantly tired. And I was often cheating on my diet with just really bad junk food and just calling it a cheat day when it wasn't like, you know, a planned thing. It was just like I couldn't resist eating some shit food. And that's when I discovered the diet that works for me, which is kind of like a slightly bastardized version of the carnivore diet. So the carnivore diet is where you basically just eat meat, which I know sounds crazy, but like literally you just eat meat. You don't eat vegetables, you don't eat fruit, you don't eat rice, pasta, you literally just eat meat. It sounds fucking crazy, I know, but I actually tried it and it was the best I ever felt in my entire life. So now I have a slightly different version of that, which is quite similar to keto. I don't really eat carbs, a tiny bit really, but I have meat, eggs, cheese. I have maybe 1 or 2 teaspoons of honey, which is like the only carbs I have right before my workout. So I get a little bit of like a little carb boost for the workouts. And sometimes I have casein powder, which is, you know, like protein powder. This is the best diet for brain and business, like brain, like fog or whatever, like to not have brain fog, and for business. So for me personally, I had to make the decision based on my priorities, and I prioritize business over bodybuilding. So with this diet right here, I have no brain fog. I wake up super early. Like for example, it's 8 a.m. right now. I woke up at 4 and I've made 2 of these full guides, which usually used to take me multiple days each. And I've made them before like 8:30 a.m. Like I honestly feel so healthy, so happy, amazing. And I don't want to go back. So this is the diet I'm personally happy with. What's interesting is technically I'm on a diet which is really bad for bodybuilding. But again, it's like that's what the science says. But in practicality, I'm making really good progress as well. So it's just like, don't believe like whatever you hear on the internet of like, oh, okay, you need to have this kind of diet, you need to have this thing. In the end, it comes down to like, if you train hard, even if you've got, for example, like a diet that's not optimal, if you train hard, even if you're drinking alcohol, if you train hard, even if you're not sleeping that well, you can still go and build like a really good amount of muscle. Now, this isn't me saying go and do those things, but it's like, it would be absurd for us internet guys to say like, yeah, if you drink alcohol, you're not going to make gains because that's what the science says. When there's so many like, you know, like jacked Chad, like simpleton motherfuckers who go out all the time, drink all the time, and they're still muscular as fuck and it's still natural. There's so many guys who've been sleep deprived for 20 years, but they're still jacked, like they still build muscle. So it's not as simple as to just look at the science and say, yep, you've got to do this one thing, because as long as you train really hard in the gym, you can still make muscle, even if you have other variables which aren't optimal. Now you're trying to like maximize your bodybuilding progress. So I probably wouldn't recommend this diet for you, but if you're trying to build the aesthetic body, but also you want to get into business, also you want to have a very clear mind, sharp mind, so that it's amazing for your career, then you might want to just give this diet a try just for like 2 days, just to see what happens, because I just thought it was crazy as fuck. I thought it would have been boring as fuck. Like you're telling me you literally just eat fucking meat, just meat basically. I thought it would have been so boring. I gave it a try and I was like, holy shit, this is what I was supposed to feel like all my life. It's like there's just been like a suffocation removed from my mind where I can actually focus. I'm actually sharp now. I didn't realize all my life I had brain fog. I'm probably just quite sensitive to carbs. So that's why I have the smallest amount. I probably have about 10, 15 grams of carbs a day and just like a teaspoon of honey. That's it. And I feel amazing. I'm still making gym progress, but testosterone seems to be really high. Still got good side. Got tricep veins recently, which is fucking nice accomplishment there. So I'm happy, but I wouldn't suggest this if you only care about bodybuilding. If you care about business, studies, then you might want to go on the same diet as me and just give it a try. So we've covered workouts and diet. Now let's cover the mindset, which I think is actually the most interesting part of this guide. So there is 4 things I'll teach you in the mindset section, which is as long as you don't quit, you'll build a 10 out of 10 body, visualize grandpa gains, fun greater than optimal, science is just cope, shut the fuck up and train as hard as possible, always train with another man, never with your girl, sometimes solo. Let's go through each one there. So as long as you don't quit, you'll build a 10 out of 10 body, visualize grandpa gains. So when I started weightlifting when I was about 17 years old, in the first few workouts, like imagine I'm like a week into training in the garage with my brother. I've got like this, like loud, bouncy music on and everything. I'm hype, I'm smiling. Something just clicks, and I visualize myself being like 80 years old and still being like, still lifting, still being like a bodybuilder, still like being in really good shape, even as an old guy, walking into like some gym that I know loads of people in. I've got like a towel on my shoulder. I'm fist bumping people, I'm saying hello to everyone. And it just clicks, and I'm like, oh shit, like, as long as I don't quit, I'll build the 10 out of 10 body. I'm always going to keep lifting for the rest of my life. Why would I ever stop? Like, hypertrophy training is so important to be in incredible shape, to look sexy. I never want to stop. And so that clicked for me, and I was like, oh, like, it gave me like a sense of safety, because I was like, even if I make slow progress, which I was expecting myself to, because I've never really picked up anything quickly. I'm just one of those guys who, like, if I start something new, I'm just usually worse than the average person at it. But the thing that I have is perseverance. So I was worse than everyone when I started weightlifting. In fact, it took me about 3 years to get to the point when I could bench press like 60 kg comfortably. And I remember one time, I was like eat, sleep, lift, repeat, by the way, but I started like anorexic. I started like 110 pounds at 6'1". So do the conversion if you don't know that. It's about 47, 48 kilograms at 6'1". I was really skinny. And it took me years to, be able to bulk up because it was so hard for me, whatever. About 3 years in, I'm bench pressing 60 kg, 3 years in. Some guys start that on the first day. And my one friend in university, like this party boy that I used to like, go out to nightclubs with, I'm in the gym in our student accommodation with 60 kg on the bench press. He walks in as I'm having a break from the bench press and just sits on it whilst he's like talking to me, unhooks it and starts pressing it. And I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Like, he doesn't train. He doesn't go to the gym. And I said, like, how did you do that? And he went like, oh, like, I just watched you do it. And I like, because it's not terribly heavy, right? 60 kg, 20 kg on the barbell each side. It's not terribly heavy, but I was taken aback because I was like, holy shit, like, it took me 3 years to get that. This guy just fucking drinks and takes drugs, and he just hit it on like not even in a real gym session. Didn't even warm up for it. It's not a crazy amount of weight. It's not even a high amount of weight, but I was so like, like thrown back by that. I didn't quit. And now I can bench press like 100 kg for like 10 reps, like fairly comfortably. And so if you can just do this right now, see yourself as an old man still going to the gym. See yourself as an old man still like being in like the lifting culture. Because you just might like click in your brain and realize you never want to quit this. Through all the trials and tribulations, you never quit, and you will eventually build that 10 out of 10 physique. So even through plateaus as well, as long as, like, imagine if you're watching this right now and for the past few months, you don't really look any different, you haven't really made much gains. As long as you don't quit, you'll eventually figure it out and you'll break through and you'll start making gains again. So this mindset gave me the comfort to think like, okay, if I'm not making fast gains, it's actually fine, because as long as I don't quit, I'll figure it out. And so it means a lot to me, and I hope that, there's some guys watching this who just, it clicked for you in your brain, and you're like, oh shit, that's actually such a good point. So this next mindset is fun is greater than optimal. Here's the thing. If you're a high performer like me, so I'm an entrepreneur, we don't do a lot of fun things. We don't really drink, smoke, party, eat shit food, take drugs, watch TV, scroll. I don't do like most of the bad habits that most people do. I just wake up and fucking work 12 hours a day on my business. I woke up at 4 a.m. today. It's 8:30. I haven't stopped working. I'll go to the gym after this. I'll come back home and work again. It's like, bodybuilding might be your only like fun pursuit. It might be your only fun thing that you do. And so keep it that way. If you ever find yourself not enjoying it or not looking forward to the workout, often all you need to do is increase the motivation again and realize like you should actually make this a fun thing, because especially if you are like me and you don't do many of the fun things, this might be the only fun thing that you actually do, like bodybuilding, going to the gym, lifting weights. And so it's important to try and keep that. So how do you add more fun to the bodybuilding session? Well, you've got to increase the motivation. How do you do that? Well, you add variety. Sometimes you change the exercises based on just what you feel like doing. So continue training like a bodybuilder. Don't just change the exercises and start saying like, yeah, I want to start like, powerlifting or whatever. You could do that, and that's absolutely fine. But in terms of staying as a bodybuilder, building the aesthetic physique, I would say continue training like a bodybuilder, but change the exercises which are still bodybuilder friendly. So for example, you go from like incline dumbbell press to doing like some variation you saw from like some guy where he put up the bench next to the cables and pressed them, and he said it was really cool. You try that, and it's a bit fucky, but you give it a try. You're like, oh damn, that actually feels really cool. Suddenly it's like you've just added a bit more of like fun and enjoyment and like adventurous energy inside of the gym. gym, and you probably will like that more. And another way to increase motivation is to get inspiration from other bodybuilders. I think when Sam Sulek went viral, so many guys got more into lifting weights because it was just kind of fun to see someone who enjoyed it, and you kind of follow along his journey, and you're like, oh shit, like I'm gonna go take the gym more seriously as well. This mindset is science is just cope, shut the fuck up and train as hard as possible. So I literally made no gains when I went all in on the science-based shit. I started to watch Jeff Nippard and those kinds of YouTubers who break down like, this is what this scientific study says, we should train like this. And all it really did was cause me to overthink and start training like a nerd, where literally like I knew like the EMG activations of certain exercises. I knew that the tilt back on the lat pull down, the most effective angle of tilting back on the lat pull down was 11%. I knew like these specific things, which you think would be like amazing because you get to optimize everything, but it actually makes you train more like a nerd, like a pussy, instead of like the meathead Chad. So this is what I'm going to do for myself, and I think it could be good advice for you if you're someone who overthinks a lot and you're trying to like optimize your workout routine by watching all these like science YouTubers and these scientific studies. Just turn your brain off in the gym and train like a meathead Chad. Don't think to yourself like, yeah, like keeping 1 rep in reserve is actually really healthy. That's what like the science-based YouTuber said. And you know, this exercise has actually got higher EMG activation than this one. Just shut the fuck up. Go into the gym, grab some fucking weight and just move it like, and grunt because it fucking hurts if you really push yourself to failure. Basically, I think that following this advice made it harder for me to get closer to failure because you start training in like a softer, more pussy way instead of like the aggressive way that I think you need to train. Like hypertrophy training is not some civilized matter where these like nerds are coming in doing all these studies and everything. It's like going to war with your own body. It's really fucking like you need to be aggressive to make muscle. And I think that when you start getting into this science stuff, you stop training as aggressively and you start like, this is at least the impact it had on me. I stopped training as aggressively and I started to train more like in a smart way, you know, train smart, not hard. And the truth is like, the guy who says train smart, not hard, has got like 14.5-inch biceps. So you can listen to him if you want, but if you want to get like these big motherfuckers or you want to build this aesthetic physique, the guys that like who have the physique that you look up to, they're in the gym like gritting their fucking teeth, getting almost lightheaded because of how hard they're pushing. And I think that anything that stops you from pushing hard is detrimental completely. Even if there's some kind of benefit to following like this, you know, oh yeah, do it like this because science said that having your hands like this is kind of better for this exercise. If you just fucking grab the weight and just fucking train hard, you'll probably make more progress. Or at least I did. I'm sure that there's some guys who've preferred that, but yeah. And then always train with another man, never your girl, sometimes solo. So if you think you prefer solo workouts, which a lot of guys do, what I will say to you is when you find the right training partner, you'll be surprised of how good it is. I always had this mindset that, oh yeah, I prefer training by myself. And you know what's interesting? I said that before I ever even trained with anyone anyway. And I think it was almost like a cope of like I basically had no friends. And I was like, yeah, I like solo workouts. It's like, bro, you have no friends. You don't get to say you like solo workouts. You just have to do solo workouts. So when I started to train with like male friends who had relatively the same strength as me, that's when my training fucking skyrocketed. It's so much more fun. The reason why is because you've got this huge accountability of this other guy who's staring at you. You can't pussy out. He knows how much you can push. So you push so much harder because in a weird, like egotistical way, it's like you kind of want to impress him or you at least want to show yourself to the world like the level you can push at. And you don't want to be like, look like a pussy. So you push harder to failure when another guy's watching you, calling you out, and training to failure is probably where you're making most of the muscle. So I really recommend finding the gym partner. How do you find the gym partner? The exact way that I've done is literally go to the gym, the gym that you go to, and literally just fist bump people as you walk past them. Sometimes I'll go up to a guy and I'm not feeling very confident to, you know, do like a normal kind of approach. So I'll say something like, oh, do you mind watching my stuff whilst I go to the toilet? And every guy's been fine for that. Most of the time I don't even need the toilet. So I just go to the toilet and I just stand there for like 10 seconds. Like, and then I come back, obviously, like I'll fake it, like I'll have a bit of a piss or something, but I come back up, thank him for it, and then I'll say like, oh, you know, I've not spoke to you before, what's your name, whatever. That's like if I'm not feeling very confident. If I'm feeling a bit more confident, I'm in like a happy mood, I'll make eye contact with someone, I'll put my hand up like this, take my earphone off and say, yes, bro, what's your name, by the way, bro? And that's it. You're just like a friendly guy. You speak to each other. If you like his vibe, then you say, oh, bro, we should do a session together. Let me get your Instagram, your WhatsApp, and just say, okay, I've got chest day tomorrow at 8 a.m. Want to join? And if he wants to join, then you train together. And if it's an amazing workout, then fucking keep meeting each other. The most progress I've made in the last few years have been those periods of times where I've had a consistent workout partner and it's just hype as fuck. We meet in the morning, we're like abusing caffeine and we're just, just like being aggressive with the workouts. Now, on the other hand, training with your girl, in my opinion, is whack because there's too much of a strength difference to train together. I think most guys would agree with this. If you try and train like at the same time together with your girl, there's too much of a strength difference. Like if you're both on the same squat rack or something, it's just impractical, right? Then you might think, okay, what if you go to the gym at the same time as your girl? And I still, personally for me, I still think that's bad because I want to get in the hyper aggressive mood while she's kind of in this like happy mood, like happy mode to spend time with me. So the times that I've went to the gym with my girl, but to, do separate workouts, but at the same time, it's been fairly distracting and nowhere near as good as going to the gym with just friends, male friends anyway. So I much prefer to either go with male friends or by myself. And I never really want to go to the gym with a girl that I'm dating. But this also could be the girls that I'm dating, because I often date quite like feminine girls who don't have that sort of like aggressive grind kind of personality. I'm sure that if there's girls who, are personal trainers, they train harder than I fucking do, right? So like there's a few personal trainers in my gym who I've trained with and they train hard. Actually training with them was absolutely fine. So maybe this is just the girls that I date. If you're quite like a masculine guy and you naturally date quite feminine girls who are quite like cute and they're not very aggressive with their workouts, then you might find that you might not want to train with them. So this isn't me trying to be sexist. It's just naturally the girls that I date don't usually have that kind of aggressive energy, like, the discipline grind energy in the gym. So what you'll find is even if you go to the gym at the same time, she'll be like finished and coming to like bug you, and it's sweet to, it's so sweet. Like your girl's in the gym, she'll come up to speak to you. It's so sweet, but it kind of takes you out of that like war mode that you've got to be in to be in hypertrophy training. I'm telling you, like your gains will come from you training like a psychopath, gritting your teeth, sweating, and like literally like your head's shaking because of how much it hurts. That's when you're making gains. That's when the muscle's tearing. And if you've just had your girl come up and give you a hug and ask for a kiss and stuff and ask you like what you want to eat later, it's very hard to step back into that aggressive energy. I know it sounds so wholesome, and I'm sure there's like cute guys on Instagram who are showing like their cute girls speaking to them in the gym and everything, but to make gains you really have to push so hard. And I think that being with like a cute little girl kind of takes you out of that space. And the leg press story is with an ex of mine, the one I was with for like 3 years. I lived with her and everything like a few years ago before I started YouTube. Me and her would go to the gym at the same time together before I really like knew this rule for myself. And I'd be like, warming up, speaking to a friend, hyping up and everything on my first exercise, second exercise. And she'd walk up to me and she'd be like, Hamza, I'm finished. And I didn't know what, like, because she didn't want to go home without me. So I'd always say some shit like, oh, okay, just go and do something. And she was like, what? Like, I'm already bored. I've already been on the cardio machine. And, I wasn't in the headspace. I was like, I just wanted to focus on my own training. So I just said to her, I was like, okay, just do this. Just go do 10 sets of leg press. And she's like, what? 10 sets of leg press? Yeah. It'll be really good for you. Like, basically I was just trying to get her off my back. And so every single workout I had to do an extra 10 sets of leg press. And you know what's interesting, by the way? She fucking built an incredible physique. So that was it was weird. I was only just trying to get her away from me so that, I could focus on my workout. And I just told her, do 10 sets of leg press every single day on top of your normal workout. And then she got thick as fuck. Like she got like a really nice physique from that as well. So it was a win-win for both of us. So we've covered the 3 parts to building an aesthetic body: workouts, diet, and mindset. We covered everything that I promised you. The promise that I made you was that I'll teach you how to build your aesthetic body without the overthinking and make faster progress than I did. If you follow what we've just covered today, you won't overthink, because I watched like hundreds of all these like YouTube videos and stuff. If this was one 50-minute video, I could just send back to my 17-year-old self with the commandment of like, watch this and then don't watch the 500 extra videos you're about to watch on all this science-based stuff. He would have actually made faster progress than I actually did. So I think I would have saved him like 1 or 2 or 3 years of hitting that goal, that physique earlier, and just being younger with that sexy physique. So that top link in the description, it's kind of standing out. If you have a look at the description of this video, it's everything you need to get girls in 2024. Go watch it right now, because it's basically how to use the aesthetic body to attract women, the kind of pictures that you need to take. And so if you just go and click the top link in the description right now, you can go and learn that. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. Mwah.